Hey, everybody, I'm Scotty T from Your Comedy Minute. I'm here with an amazingly talented guy, Dave Schwensen.
Who
Dave
told you
Schwensen.
that? Amazingly
Well,
talented guy.
I didn't even check first. Did I pronounce it right? Dave Schwensen.
You got it right. All right, we're
All
best
right,
friends
gosh, darn it, good.
as of
Dave
right
is,
now.
as I said, Dave is an amazingly talented guy. When you guys hear everything he's done, it's hard for me. I have to try and get a chronological order on how to start and how to do things with this. So I want to ask, where you were born and raised, because I know, like right now, you're in New York, but you just got back from Mexico, LA, you were in Ohio. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Northern Ohio, raised out
Okay.
here. As a matter of fact, I'm in Northern Ohio right now.
Oh,
I was in
I thought you were gonna be in New York.
I was in New York. I'm back. I'm in Northern Ohio now. I'm gearing up to do I have some gigs out here actually. I have three programs I'm doing this week based on my books, and they're in
Okay.
Northern Ohio.
Right.
My last one was in Brooklyn, New York. As a matter of fact, last
Right.
Friday. Um, Gearing up hopefully do another comedy workshop that I do at the Cleveland
Okay.
Funny Bone. We're waiting to confirm dates on that.
Or when did you realize that you wanted to work in the entertainment industry?
As soon as I graduated college with
Okay.
my degree in business administration, I decided I wanted to be in show business. There was no show business out here. So I packed up my car and I moved to New York City. I didn't know anybody.
Right.
Nothing. I just said, I'm going. I'll
Right.
figure it
Right.
out
Right.
once I get there. So I did that. So I moved to New York City. I lived in Manhattan, Gramercy Park area, beautiful park. I lucked out. I really lucked out.
Yeah. If
And
I'm right, you had to look for like 3 days and finally you found an apartment, right?
what have you been reading my blogs?
I I got grilled that you were on one of these and the person didn't do their research. I thought I better dot the I's and cross the T's with this guy.
I had a copy of the Village Voice, which is a very well known, famous newspaper at that time. And I had a cousin actually that lived in Long Island. And she went through and she circled the good areas for me to check out. And I walked for 3 days. And yeah, I really couldn't find anything that I could afford. I mean, it was New York
Yeah,
City.
sure.
And so I was kind of giving up and just was heading to the subway. I thought, well, that's it. My dreams of show business are over. I might as well go back to Ohio. And I happened to go by a place that
A
said now
3 day
renting.
run. You had a 3 day
Yeah,
run.
well, I scored. I found an apartment within my
Right,
budget
right.
and moved in, and I lived there for 14 years.
Well,
And
and I
beautiful.
apologize. But I wanted to kind of go in order because you started off about your seminars and everything you have going, but I wanted to get to you were the talent coordinator for the improv. How
Hmm.
did in other words, is that do you want to take me from where you were to that?
Sure. You got some time?
Well, no, but this is your show. You're in charge. I'll shut the hell up. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. I mean,
We graduated college. We got an
yeah.
apartment. Let's keep going.
Well, I wanted to be involved in show business,
Right,
and I didn't know how to do this. Didn't know what to do.
right,
So I rolled in an acting class. I went down and I interviewed at the Lee Strasberg Institute,
right.
and it's very famous. He was
Yep,
acting
I
coach
know.
for
Yep,
Al Pacino, Marilyn Monroe, everybody.
right.
His wife Anna actually interviewed me, and I got accepted into the school and did a couple courses with other people. But eventually, I got into Lee's. I studied with Lee Strasberg personally,
Right.
acting. Okay, that's a big deal for the actors.
Right.
Like whoa, and yeah, I actually worked with him, and through him, I started learning about the business because everyone in my class at that time, I was the youngest one in there.
Okay.
Everybody else they were on Broadway. They were doing movies,
Right.
sitcoms, all that kind of stuff,
Okay.
soap operas. So they kind of turned me on to that. They were saying, "Here's what you need: you need a picture, you need a resume. Call this number, call that." So I started doing soap operas when I lived in New
Oh,
York.
really? Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. Nothing on a regular basis. It might be one
Okay.
day here, 2 or 3 days here. I was a bartender. I
Work.
was a
It's
cop.
work.
It's work. Okay,
Working
and I
its
figure out
money.
how to contact these people. Casting directors, agents. Man, I kind of was learning that as I went along, and and to make extra money while I was there, I started playing my guitar in the village at the clubs.
Okay.
Uh, had a partner. We had a couple acoustic guitars. We were like the Everly Brothers. Of
Okay.
course, we were as far as being the Ramones as possible, and they were the Ramones and Blondie. They're all the CBGBs, and I'm down the village playing folk music where Bob Dylan used to play. Anyway, and we started telling jokes on stage, by the way, and just
Okay.
having fun. And these I'm serious. These are like 5-hour sets we were doing,
Right.
and never repeat a song. That kind of we were right, whatever. I'm just giving you my background. Anyway, and that's why that's all I was ever interested in.
Yeah.
Music,
Me too.
comedy.
Once I saw
That
that,
was
I
it.
knew I was going to be in the music business.
That's why I tell my kids, I'm a genius. And they go, "Why do you say that?" I say, "Because I, I actually went to college. I passed accounting, economics, fine. I passed all those classes. I had zero interest in it, zero. And
Well,
so,
okay, keep
yeah.
going.
Well, eventually I met a guy who was like one of my best friends in the world. I just talked to him the other day when I was in New York. Chris Murphy. Every comic in New York City knows who he is.
Okay,
If you
Chris
don't,
Murphy.
you're not in the comedy industry in New York.
Okay.
Anyway, he was a comic. We're on the same softball team. I said,
Okay.
"What do you do?" He said, "He's a comic." And he says, "You know how?" And I was doing plays off Broadway, off Broadway
Okay.
plays, kind of
Right.
stuff. And he said, "When you're auditioning for something, you want to be the casting director at age or something. They say, 'What can we see you in?'" And he can say, "Well, you can see me tonight. I'm on stage at the Improv
Okay.
or one of these clubs." And I thought, "Well, that sounds interesting. Let me try that." So I took a comedy workshop in New York City. And I
Right.
always say, not as good as mine. I'm telling you the
Hey, you
truth.
know what? You should get your shoulder checked.
My shoulder checked.
Yeah, patting yourself on the back like that. First, you're a genius. Now you keep going,
Uh,
buddy. I'm just messing with you,
Scott, you're just getting to know me.
buddy.
We're not even in depth
And
yet.
you know what? You shouldn't name drop like that because Tom Hanks
You
told
haven't
Tom Hanks told me that.
heard nothing yet when it comes to name
I'm
dropping. There's
sorry.
nobody like
I
me.
got you smiling. That's good. Keep going. Keep going. I'll just
Anyway, I
shut it.
took
I'll shut. I wanted to talk a little bit. They paid me a little bit to say something. Go ahead. You're back
well,
on the air. Second
I took
caller.
all right. Let me
You
see. You
got to
got me
get
all
to the Beatles.
that's coming up. That's
I
coming up.
know.
Let me
I'm
see. I took
sorry.
this
I'm just
workshop.
messing with you, but you're smiling. That makes me feel good.
That's okay, Scott. We can have a good time. I'll mess
I
back
want
with
you
you.
to
I
have
don't care.
fun.
I'm just,
Okay, so
whatever.
we're
You're
now to
asking me
your.
these.
We're
You're asking.
finally at the improv. We made it to the improv.
No, we haven't made it to the Improv yet. We're not even close.
Jesus God, are we ever going to get to the?
We're not even close to the Improv yet.
You were damn near there.
No, I was almost there. I was on my way, but yeah. You asked me these questions and you want answers. I'm
No, I
giving you
did.
my answer.
We only got.
Excuse me.
I don't have. I just have the free
How much time
version
do
of
we
Zoom, buddy.
time do we have?
All right. Well, let's keep going. We run out
I
of
took
time. There'll be a part two.
okay. Took
All
a
right. Go
comedy
ahead.
workshop. Took a comedy workshop. I got him did I think 3 minutes of comedy, and I think it was at the Comic Strip in New York City. And I got one laugh, and that's all you need to be the
But it
comedian.
was a
It's like,
great laugh.
oh my god, they laughed at something I wrote, and I'm like, this is addictive. So it was like trying to run around the open mics in New York City. Okay,
Okay.
run every night, and have my buddy Chris with me and a few other guys. So we're running around, and we could never get on stage. And I would try to get an audition at the Improv, the number
Right.
one club in
Okay.
the country at that time.
Right.
And they had like a lottery number. I wasn't good enough to do that anyway. I just started out. I was thinking, jumping too far
Okay.
ahead. Anyway, I thought, okay, well, I'm not getting on at these open mics regularly. Can't get into the big clubs. So the thing to do, and this again, genius. We started our own comedy club. Okay, Chris
Okay.
Murphy and I, we started our own. It was a place called the Honey Tree. It's in Gramercy Park area, New York. On the
Okay.
weekends, we talked to the owner. Weekends, we changed it to the Funny Tree.
Okay.
And I got to be the host. It was Friday, Saturday nights. I was the host of the shows. My buddy Chris got a job at the Improv in the coat room. So he would sit there and he would call me on the phone. And he'd say, "Hey, so and so just got off stage. You want me to send them down?" I'm like, "Yeah, send them down." Because comics are always looking to do sets. They're always want to try the
Right.
material. So we started bringing in some good comics to this. It was like a booked open
You
mic.
want to name a couple?
Yeah, that's where I first met Brett Butler, Grace Under Fire, the TV show. Dave Attell, okay, he
Okay.
came
Yeah.
down. Mark Maron was down there.
Yeah.
The Wayans brothers, Sean and Marlon,
Mark
were coming
Maron
in.
has a huge podcast, several
Oh
million
yeah,
people.
he's huge. He's huge now.
Yeah.
Uh, So I remember those,
So all these people
they,
came to your club, came to your and your
yeah,
buddy's club.
yeah. We didn't pay anyone. They were just doing. They wanted time. Be a comic. You have
Sure,
to
get
do your
up on
material on
stage.
stage.
Sure.
And we always had a big crowd.
Okay.
It might have been like 60 people, but every seat was packed. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, it was so crowded we had to put a video camera in the back of it and show it on the TV in the bar because people couldn't get into our little showroom.
Okay.
So this went on for a while, and I thought, all right. After about 6 months, I went up to the Improv in New York and to meet the owner. I thought you got to get your foot in the door. Okay, if you know this about comics, a lot of them just to get your foot in the door to be there. So a lot of great, well-known comics were like door guys. They were servers. They were
Yeah.
bartenders. They're fixing the plumbing, whatever, because they're in the club and they happen to be there if a spot opens up or something. Hey, I'm a comic and I'm on stage. So that was my idea. So I went up to the New York Improv and I met the owner at that time, Silver Friedman. Okay.
Right.
And we were talking and everything. And she says, well, I said, I'm looking for a job. She said, can you bartend? I'm like, yeah, I went to college. See, that's why you don't laugh at that. I thought that was funny. So there you go. That's why I became a
No,
behind the
well,
scenes guy.
but you were a genius at it.
That was a genius.
No,
Anyway, she hired me.
bartending. We're up to
She,
bartending.
we're up to bartending. I said I can open a beer.
So did you bartend at the Improv first?
First night I came back was a Sunday night, and I was the Sunday night bartender. It's the only night they had open, but I'm taking it because I'm in the club now. Got my
Yeah.
foot in the door. I'm in the club.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I remember standing there, and I was behind the bar in the showroom. All the people in the showroom, they're all laughing. That's where all the action's going on. At the bar, I got a bunch of broke, out of work comics sitting there, hoping they get a spot. So they're drinking club soda, and they're not gonna tip. I'm like,
Right.
well, this is not a great career move. Anyway, at the end of the night, I was counting out the bank. Okay. And I always say this is the only time my college education actually came in handy because I counted it right down to the penny. And Silver's standing there going, I don't think she ever had a bartender because they're all out of work comics. I don't think she ever had a bartender that could do that. She goes, wow. She goes, would you like to be the assistant manager? And
Wow.
I said, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So I came back the next night, Monday or Tuesday. I was the assistant manager. They were training me. Well, listen, my friend, hold on to your seat because I'm not even done yet.
I'm holding. I'm holding.
Okay, about 2 weeks into this, there was a manager there, Chris, who we all loved him, a great guy. I liked him; he was a good friend.
Right.
But the owner at that time, she had a bit of a temper, and the two of them got in an argument about something. I don't know what. She
Let me
fired him.
guess.
Okay,
You were the
she
manager.
fired him. She turned around to me and says, "You're the manager."
Okay.
Okay,
And
and
this
that
is the
made me
Improv. This is the Improv in New York.
the original New York City improvisation on West 44th Street between 8th and Ninth
Okay.
Avenue in
All
Hell's
right. So
Kitchen. It was
now you're managing the joint.
the first comedy club ever. There were no comedy clubs before this one.
All right.
So I was the manager. I was also the talent coordinator, the talent booker,
Yeah, the
because
Booker.
I got along really great with the owner, Silver. I just loved her. She showed me so much. And eventually she wanted to get in a house in Long Island. So she would be gone. So she would come in 2 days a week and manage the club. Then I would do it for the other five. And
Okay.
so I got to book all the shows.
Right.
So the comics would be calling me for their avails. And I'll be
Sure.
honest with you, when I first started doing this, I booked myself. I always say, yeah, the first thing I did was pass myself for the audition. But at the same time, I mean, I didn't have the experience. I
Okay.
didn't. You need years and years of doing this. So I did have my music stuff from the village. So I would book myself as the matter of fact, that's how I gave myself a raise. Okay. I told her after a while, I said, okay,
You're,
look,
you
I
are
want to
killing
raise.
me. You
I
are
said,
killing me.
that's what I want to raise, but here's how we can do this.
Go ahead. Genius. I know. Genius.
Told her I need a
Keep
raise, but
going, genius.
here's how we do this. I said, let me book myself for one. The weekend spots paid more than the weekdays. Okay. So I said,
Oh
let me give myself one weekend spot, either a Friday or Saturday night, and one spot during the weekday. And it was the deal we worked out.
doubled your
So
money, and
yeah,
you're getting to be you're the guy. I would. Okay, go ahead.
yeah. So I mean,
Wow.
it was wonderful. I mean, I met some cool people. I have some good friends,
Go
and
ahead. Keep
and we
going.
had a
Get name
band.
a few. Name some more of those comedians that we
No, I mean
mentioned.
just say we had a band on stage, so we always had Tom Pyle and Bob Cross were our piano player and bass player. So I got to bring my 12 string in, play a song, put down, I do some jokes, play another song off stage, and I collect the
Cool.
money. But we had other some music acts too, and the other comics, and
Well, and
yeah, it was just a wonderful
let
experience.
me try and move along because there was L.A. not in New York, L.A. But then you went on to A&E, the comedy at the Improv, right?
Yeah, I moved out to Los Angeles. Basically, I got tired of being cold. Okay, 14 years in New York City. I just,
Hey, I'm sorry if I moved this along too quick, but I wanted to try and move on. Is that
yeah,
okay?
that's fine. I moved out to LA and hooked up with
Okay,
Bud
right? And
Friedman.
that because there you worked with the honcho, the main Cahuga.
Bud, Bud Friedman.
Yeah, yeah, Bud
Yeah,
Friedman.
I became Bud's assistant,
Yeah,
and I was the talent coordinator for the Hollywood Improv, the big one. That's the big club, of course.
right.
And then they had one in Santa Monica at that time too. So I was also the Santa Monica club. So we would
Okay,
book the shows at both
right.
those places. And then eventually, he was one of the producers. He and Doug Wellman were producers of A&E's and Evening at the Improv of the Arts and
Yeah.
Entertainment Network. So they hooked me up, and I was talent coordinator for that.
Did I do my research okay?
Yeah, you sound pretty good. Sure. I didn't have to correct it too much.
Wow. Coming from a genius, I'm flattered. So we've got to go on now because again, we only have so much time. You did that, and then you started. I don't know when did the books because you have several books on comedy alone, and
I've
as
written,
you mentioned, you have a comedy workshop that people. That's how I heard about you.
yeah,
Is that people that have been on have been in your workshop?
over 1,300 people right now, and we're
Okay.
still going.
Uh,
Yes.
a new one just starts up in again. I'll put all the links to everything. Don't you have another new one coming up shortly?
Yeah, I haven't confirmed dates, but we are hoping to do one more, sometime in December, January in
Right.
Cleveland. And again, I don't like to be cold, so then we're looking at Tampa, the Tampa Funny Bone
Oh, okay. All right.
in February. I'm still waiting to hear back from them, but we talked about some dates, but I'm still waiting to hear back.
I
So, that's
apologize,
stuff
but for people that don't know, you take the course, you for several weeks do this, and then there's a big showcase at the Funny Bone or whatever.
right. We do 3 Saturday afternoons from noon to 4,
Okay.
and 10 people. And experience is not necessary. I have some who, when I say I have all these people,
Right.
about half of them are looking to make a career in comedy,
Never
which is
done
great because that's
comedy. Right.
that's that's what I want to do. I mean, I have a lot of my people that came out of these workshops are working as comedians now, not just in comedy clubs. I mean, that's the low rung on the ladder. There's other markets, corporate, college, cruise ships. We
Cruise
talk about
ships.
all that stuff, and then we write the material. But the other half of the people that take my workshops are just it's a bucket list item. It's so funny, or they'll get it
Mhm.
as a Christmas present, birthday gift, and
Right.
I have no idea why I'm here. My wife bought me this because she thinks I'm funny. Well, guess what? 3 weeks from now, you're going to be on stage at the
You're gonna be on
Funny Bone,
stage, sure.
and you're going to be doing a 5 minute comedy set, and it's just a blast. It's comedy.
I
There's no right
I
or wrong, and it's just bringing out your humor, getting on stage, and entertaining an audience.
I introduced you as amazingly talented guy, and we're just touching on it. I didn't mean to rush you along, but because again, we've never met. For people that we've just met 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago,
Hmm.
but I'm hankering to get to the Beatles because that's a whole nother aspect. And see, I worked in the music business most of my life. I
Hmm.
only started your comedy minute about 4.5 years ago when I got fired from my job for telling jokes. But and that's
Okay.
true. That's true. But I
Hmm.
wanted to get on to the Beatles because that's all. In other words, I have, just so you know, you said you didn't correct me. You have the comedybook.com, you have davelaughs.com, and you got Beatles program.com. Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
And I wanted to make sure because, again, I'll put all those links, but that's where you're so multifaceted. You have so much going on. It's hard for me to cover everything, but I want to make sure that we cover everything I can.
Okay, and I just want to let you know, I just hung up on a phone call coming in, but I'm also a musician. My keyboard was broken, my electric keyboard, and they're just calling to let me know it's fixed, so I can start playing again.
I'm
All right,
sorry. I just wanted to try and say a few words. Let's go. Where were we?
you're a musician. I was like, hey, my keyboard's ready. Okay, I gotta go pick it up. I gotta play. What do you want to do? Yeah, I wrote two. Okay, I've written 6 books altogether.
Yeah, six
Three,
books altogether.
three, yes, 3 of them are about the comedy business. Okay, I think I said before we even went on the air here talking, I'm a comedy coach, and I don't believe you can teach comedy. I'm sorry, there's no formula for doing this. It's you have your own style of humor, And I can't convince you that something else is funny if you don't think it is. So my job as a coach is to help you bring that out. So my books are basically business books. I mean, like, help you get out, your humor, your sense of humor, and how to make a living at it. It's my first book's called How to Be a Working Comic, not how to be an amateur comic, how to be a working
Working
comic.
comic.
I also was a newspaper columnist for humor columnist for about 15 years. So I took
Wow.
my favorite humor columns and I put them into a book called Something to Laugh About, which is kind of thing you can take to an airport, the bathroom, whatever, read an 800
Wonderful.
word column and
Wonderful.
go back. And then I wrote two books on the Beatles, the Fab Four. And that has been a lot of fun for me. I didn't expect that. I wrote those for myself, for the first one anyway. And it was called The Beatles in Cleveland
Right.
because when I was younger, my mom and dad took me to see the Beatles.
Yeah. I
And
was going to mention that. You saw the Beatles
yes,
live.
yes, I did. And so,
And I sent you a picture, not to interrupt. I sent you a
yes,
picture of Ringo Starr.
yes, you did.
I have a Ringo Starr story, but I probably won't get to it.
Okay, I have one too, but I probably won't get to
No,
that
no,
one.
keep going. I'll
But
shut up.
but it's in my second book. Anyway, I wrote that first book, The Beatles in Cleveland, and it was funny because a guy when I lived in Manhattan, I lived in Gramercy Park, and I used to go to a bookstore on Park Avenue South,
Right.
and I got an email or something from a guy who was a photographer in New York. He had been at that same bookstore and bought my book, The Beatles in Cleveland, and he contacted me. He says, "I know this guy who's a photographer. He was at that Shea Stadium concert, the famous one the Beatles did. He's got pictures that never been published." He says, I can hook you guys up, and you should write the story.
Okay.
And so we did. And so I
Right.
wound up writing a book called The Beatles at Shea Stadium with these
Yeah.
really cool photos. And yeah, and so now I go out and not only do I comedy workshops, and I do it like a comedy workshop program, say like for 55 and
Yeah.
older
That's
communities.
the Dave.
But
Dave. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, and I do it for schools, things like that. So one
Yeah.
hour, just a fun program. I'm doing one the day after tomorrow, someplace. I got
Yeah.
three of them this week. But I also do programs about my Beatles books. And I do about 40 of those a year. Again, I mean, just all different
There
kinds of
was one
audiences and
one you
so
just posted, or some of it from Ohio there on Facebook, and I think if I'm right, wasn't that right?
the one last one I did was in New York, was in Brooklyn. I did the Beatles
Okay,
at
yeah,
Shea.
no, but there was a video I saw there in Ohio that
Yeah,
was amazing. Yeah, that was cool.
yeah, I do because if I'm based in Ohio doing the workshops, I do scheduling here. And I'm already starting to schedule around Orlando right now because I'm gonna be
Okay,
staying in
cool,
Orlando
cool.
in February, March. So I've got bookings down there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Beatles.
go out and depends where I am. Like I said, when I'm in New York, we do the Beatles at Shea Stadium. That's what they're interested in. When I'm in
Yeah,
Cleveland, the Beatles in Cleveland are what they're interested in. When I go to Florida, it's more like the Beatles celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Beatles in America. And
okay,
I do a combination of both books. And I have videos, very rare videos of the
right.
Beatles, and just fun stuff. And I make it funny. It's humorous.
Yeah, cool. Out of all the stuff you've done, do you have like a favorite show, and then the follow up a least favorite show?
Well, what do you mean favorite show? I mean, like
Well,
something I did for myself. Or,
in other words, a favorite memory of all the people, or when I say a show, like for me, I worked for RCA, so I was with Dave Matthews. It was a ZZ Top. I was with a show where it was just so cool, it was magical, and then a show that maybe wasn't so magical.
no, I honestly I dealt there too many fun memories, and working with all the comedians I worked with. I mean, I have little anecdotes about like almost everybody, and just
Okay,
being part of it. I mean, being
you
part
can't.
of the comedy
Well,
scene in
instead
New
of giving
York.
me one, do a couple. Do a couple of your favorite memories. That sounds like a more possible thing, plausible thing.
Well, let me see. All right. Well, who do you follow most? Let me see. I don't. I got a
I don't
story
mean
on
to
Dave
put you on the
Chappelle,
spot. I
or
thought that was an easy one.
I got a story on Dave Chappelle, or I got a story on Larry David that come to
I
mind
like
right now.
Larry
Which one do
David. I love Curb. Well, I mean, I like Curb. Go ahead. And now Curb's over. Do Curb.
you? Okay.
Larry David.
Uh, well, I go back to Seinfeld.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because he created Seinfeld. There were
Right.
two times I was involved in things that happened that became episodes, part of episodes in Seinfeld. And I
Okay.
do this in my workshops. I tell people, look at your real life. What makes you different? What are
Sure.
some,
Sure.
what stories do you have? And let me see. One of them was now the character in Seinfeld, George Costanza, is based on Larry David.
Right.
And Larry was a good guy. He was in the New York Improv. I mean, this place people went to not only just to perform. I mean, you went there because all the comics hung out there. Every comic in New York City would hang around the Improv. Even
What?
bands. I mean, I saw
He wasn't
Kiss
very
was in
good though.
there, and all this.
He wasn't
Larry,
very
he was,
good, right? As a
he
comedian.
was no, he was great. The guy was
Okay.
brilliant. He was very temperamental. I will say that. Matter of fact, there was matter of fact the first time I
He
met
got
him, that guy
fired from
became
Saturday Night Live, didn't he?
well, it wasn't me. I didn't fire him.
No, I'm just saying. That's what I heard.
I'm guessing he did. I don't know that part of it. I only know him from my personal experience. We played on the same
After one
softball
week,
team.
I think he got fired after 1 week.
Okay. Well, then he came back to New York Improv and was hanging out with the rest of us.
Right.
And that was before my time, I guess. Um, but yeah, I mean, okay, you want this story and okay, and like the
I'm
fans of
sorry. Go
Seinfeld,
ahead.
but they know George Costanza, the character, was based on
Right.
Larry David. Okay, and Larry was just, but all these comics are out there, so I'm just he's no different than anyone else. They're all kind of everybody. We're all a little crazy to get in this business. I'll put it that way.
Sure. Sure.
So anyway, he was losing his hair. Okay, right, and
Yeah.
there was an infomercial on TV, one of these all night things, and you get this hair tonic that grows your hair back. So he ordered it. And like a lot of these guys, I mean, they had their apartments and everything, but they hung out the Improv. It was the like home away from home. And so he brought the package when it was delivered. He brought it into the Improv. Okay, we're all hanging around watching him. He was opening this package, and it came from China, and all the instructions were in Chinese. All right, you couldn't read it. And there are all the comics that hang out. And I'm the manager, so I had, and this is before cell phone, so I had a manager phone at my podium, whatever I had with my phone and all this stuff. So he came over to me. He goes, "Dave, can I use your phone?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So he called up the Chinese restaurant just down the block from the New York Improv, and he ordered dinner. Okay, guy delivered the dinner to the Improv, and they kept him there to translate the instructions for this hair tonic. Okay, and a
Right.
bunch of other comics were hanging around too. We're all watching this. Okay, a few years later, there's an episode of Seinfeld. I think it's in the third season. I don't know. I found it recently. But the secondary story is George Costanza gets this hair tonic. He comes
Okay.
from China. He orders Chinese food,
That's
and they
funny.
have. So that's based on truth.
That's cool.
Okay,
You
you
said you
know.
have you said you have a Chappelle story. You want to do that one quick?
Yeah, let me see. Dave Chappelle, when he first came out to Hollywood, I can make it long. I can make it short. What do you want?
We don't have we have 10 minutes or so. We have 9 minutes or so. Again, if we run out of time, we can do another one. It's fine. I can
No, no,
edit
no,
it,
that's
whatever.
fine. All right,
No, and
here's
I
the
don't mean
story.
to rush you. It's just you've done so much, my friend. I like I
I was
said, my number one goal is that you have fun.
okay. Well, I'm having fun. This is a fun story. I tell
Good.
this one of
Dave
my work. I
Chappelle.
tell this one
Let's
of
do Dave
tell this
Chappelle.
one of my uh, call from a good friend of mine in New York. I was in Hollywood at this time. His name is Barry Katz, big
Okay.
producer in Hollywood. Again, if you're in the comedy industry, you know who he is.
Barry
He called
Katz,
me up. He
sure.
said he's got this comic in New York, really really funny, and he wants to get him on stage at the Hollywood
Right.
Improv because that's where all the casting and agent, a
Right.
showcase. So I said okay. So yeah. So I took his word for it. I knew he'd be funny. So this kid came out. So it was a Thursday night. It was a big night. Always a big night at the Hollywood
Right.
Improv. That's when the casting. That's when the business people, industry people are hanging around. Tourists are on the weekends. So this is when you want to be seen. So this kid, I'm sitting in the back, and this kid comes up. A tall, lanky kid comes up to me. He goes, "Are you Dave?" And I go, "Yeah." "Who are you?" He goes, "Hi, I'm Dave Chappelle." And I looked at him. First thing I said to him after that, I said, "You better be funny." And he says, "I am." I said, "Okay."
Okay.
So I put him on stage for about 7 minutes, okay, on a Thursday night.
Right.
He tore the house down. I
Yeah.
mean, this guy was so funny. So as he's coming off stage, I literally ran up the middle. There's an aisle in the middle of the club up to the stage. I ran up there, grabbed his hand, shook it, and I said, "You're doing Evening at the Improv," I was the talent coordinator for the
Right.
TV show
Right.
at that time. He said, "Okay." So I always say I'm the first one to ever put Dave Chappelle on television. I may be wrong about
Oh,
that. I don't know,
cool.
but I say
Well,
that. It sounds
and
cool.
just so you know, again, I've had some wonderful, wonderful comedians on this show. Nancy Levine was on this show, and she actually, with Jim Gaffigan and Dave Chappelle, she said, in other words, she put them on stage in New York as well.
Okay.
In other words,
Well,
she said there was another one I can't remember who the guy that did the roast with Tom Brady. Anyway, the three of them that she was like you booking places. She was the booker. The people contacted her.
okay.
So yeah, that's cool as heck.
Should I finish my story then?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were. Go
No,
ahead. So you got
come
first
on,
one to get
Scott.
Chappelle. First
You're
one.
just learning
You're a
me. You're just
genius.
learning
First to
me.
get Chappelle on television. I'm
Oh my
sorry. Go
gosh.
ahead.
When I start a story, it goes on and on and on. Okay. So Chappelle got off stage. I said, "You're doing evening at the Improv." He says, "Okay."
Okay.
Before he got out of the showroom, Rick Messina was sitting there, who was the manager of um, oh my gosh, Home Improvement.
Right.
Um, Tim Allen. Okay, so they were talking. He met him there. 6 months later, Dave Chappelle had a sitcom. He was selling video. It was off of Home Improvement. Before he left the club, Mel Brooks people were in there. He got a role called Achu on Robin Hood Men in Tights. So I
Holy
always say
moly.
from that one showcase, okay, he got three major things that night.
Yeah.
Okay, so now he's in Hollywood. All right, so he's out there, and so he's on a roster for the Improv Comics.
Okay.
And so I booked him to do a show at the Santa Monica Improv. I don't remember what night it was, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whatever. And so I'm sitting in the Hollywood Improv watching comics, which is what I do. I'd sit in the back of the room, kind of by myself, quiet, and kind of
Yeah.
watch people. He comes up to me and he goes, "Hi, Dave." I said, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Well, you booked me to do a show." I said, "I didn't book you here. I booked you in Santa Monica. I didn't book you here in Hollywood." He goes, "Oh, man." He goes, "Oh, I'm from New York. I don't have a car." I was like, "Oh, God. Okay." I said, "Come on, I got to get
I
you out
did
because it
hear
would look
this.
bad if he missed his spot and I'm sitting with him while he missed his spot." So I said, "Come on, get in my car." So we ran out.
You
He
gave him a
grabbed another.
ride. Yeah.
He grabbed another friend of his, a comic by the name of Dave Edwards. Did colleges.
Okay.
So it's Dave Schwensen, Dave Chappelle, Dave Edwards. Get in my car. I got this beat up Mustang convertible, piece of junk car. So I'm driving down, I don't know, the 405, whatever, to get out to Santa Monica. So
Right.
I'm doing like 90 miles an hour. Dave Chappelle sitting next to me, Dave Edwards in the back. Chappelle's got his hands on my dashboard like this, and he's screaming. He's going, "Oh my God." He goes, "I can see this now. 3 Daves die in fiery car accident." And I'm hitting him. I'm going like this, going, "Shut up, shut up." So we get right to the Santa Monica Improv just in time for him to go on stage. I said, "Get out." And the two of them got out and ran the club. I went back to the Hollywood Improv. All right. Years later, so I told you I got a long story. Years later, he's a big star. The Chappelle Show and all the stuff's going on.
Right.
He's got this tour bus with his face painted on the side of it and everything else. He's
Yeah.
playing in Cleveland. I'm back in Cleveland. I managed the Cleveland Improv for a while. I saw the bus in the parking lot as I went in, so I went over and I knocked on the door of the bus. I don't say hello to Dave. So I knocked on the door like this. The bus, all of a sudden, the curtain opens up like this, and I look out, and Dave Chappelle looks out at me. He goes, "Hey, 3 Daves die in fiery car accident."
Oh man.
It's
That's
always a fun story.
fantastic. That's fantastic.
I hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed it. You
Oh,
wanted
I
some
did. I
entertainment, so
did.
I hope that was it. I don't know.
No, I enjoyed our time together. If it's okay with you, maybe come back another time. I think we covered just about everything. Again, I'll put all the links. But if it's
Okay.
okay, I'd like to stop the recording and spend a minute or two off the air with you.
Be sure to tell people about my newsletter. They want to be involved in the comedy workshop. It goes out every other week. You will find out I subscribed to you already today.
Okay. Okay. Well, again, you know what? Let me make sure. I think we got another minute or two. Yeah. Tell people anything you want to tell them. This is your show, man.
Thecomedybook.com,
Yeah. I
thecomedybook.com.
mentioned it. I mentioned
Yeah.
all three of them.
Okay. Yeah. The workshops. I do private coaching by Zoom.
Yeah.
We do online writers groups on Mondays and Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, but you have to register in advance for that. But all the info's on the site.
If you look up comedy in the dictionary, there's a picture of him.
No, it's a picture of
It
three
says it
Daves
says
dying
see
in a
also
fiery car accident.
it says see also genius.
Hey, you got
Hey, hang on for a second. Let me stop the recording, okay?
okay.
Hang in there. I hope you had fun.
I did. Thanks a lot. I did.